Hello, everyone. Welcome to Producing with Pro Tools. My name is Gaurav Harish. I'm Artist Relations here at Avid. We're joined by amazing Avid staff around the world. Also monitoring the chat, we have an amazing guest today called Baines. Baines, do you want to quickly come on camera there?
Hey, what's up,
Welcome,
man?
Baines. How's it going, Baines? How you
How
doing?
you doing, man? Thank you for having me
Good.
here, bro.
Oh,
Yes,
amazing,
sir.
man. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. As you see, we have Baines today, and there's an amazing Avid staff around the world on our social channels and our Zoom, actually. So if you have any questions, please just pop them in there. We're going to try answering all of them. If not, then we're going to answer them at the end and go from there. So Baines, welcome, man. We've done a few of
Thank you,
these
brother.
before, and we want to crack on and talk about Baines. So if you don't know, we should, but if you don't, so Baines is a award-winning mixer for Young Thug and YSL Records. Done some amazing stuff in the past, and obviously you must have a lot of stuff in the pipeline as well. But your records are getting stronger and better every single time, man. And I
Sure.
can't wait to talk about Punk. As you know, I'm a massive fan of that album, just like I am of the other stuff as well. But yeah, it'll be great to know a
Appreciate
little
that, man.
intro about you, Baines, as well, and kind of where you began, your first steps into music, and just about Baines.
Yeah, man. Thanks, dude. First of all, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for having me. Everyone at Avid, shout out. I've been using Pro Tools since I want to say 2004 or 2005, which when it was Pro Tools 5, I think.
Mhm.
So it's been a while. It's been a long ride. It's been cool, man. I started out. I went to SAE in Melbourne for a brief stint. It was really cool. Just learned a couple of things, but I kind of wanted to take it further, and that's when I decided to go to Full Sail. That's when I ended up moving over to the States. I grew up in India, so I
Mhm.
should have led with that, but moved to Australia right after. Then I went to Full Sail, and yeah, I did recording arts and music business at Full Sail, and then just moved right to New York City. I started working at a bunch of studios. And I think within like a year from me having graduated and moving to New York, I'd met a couple of guys who were like, um, just, kind of at the same level as me, younger people starting out. And we're like, fuck it, let's just do it ourselves. And we set up a little studio in New York, and that eventually grew and expanded. And, that's turned into this facility that we're in now, and that we've done all these records and which is essentially home base for YSL now.
Wow. And that's in well, not going to disclose the location, but that is in the
It's
States. And
it. Well, we
obviously,
started in New York and now we're in LA,
okay,
and we're
nice.
and we're working on a second location in LA as well. But
Oh
yeah, just
wow.
in LA. Yeah.
Wow. And how many rooms have you got there then now, Baines?
So in
Is
this current building that we have, there's 6 rooms.
wow.
Five
Okay.
five rooms that we book, and then this room that I'm in, which is my mix room, which is not, it's not big enough to do recording sessions or whatever. But there's a lot of cool toys in here for me to mix records.
Nice. And when was your first like kind of experience with kind of getting in with a big artist, or how did it happen that you got introduced to like YSL or Young Thug, Gunna, and all the kind of guys over there?
Um, well, I worked with a lot of artists in the past, and I think in 2017, a really good friend of mine, Sean, who'd been working with Thug for a while, he introduced me to Thug, and he kind of like I covered for him, and then I just kept working with Thug, and we would go back and forth, and that was like my first introduction to Thug and YSL, and like Thug, you know, is obviously the head of YSL, is YSL. So when you work with Thug, you kind of work with everyone under his label. That's how I started working with Gunna, uh, Keed, and Pung, T-Shy, and Strick, like pretty much everyone else on the label. Carly as well. Like I've mixed projects for I think every artist on the label at this point.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And the facility is amazing, by the way. I remember we saw it like I think it was pre-COVID now, of course, but yeah, it was
It was like it,
amazing.
it, it was like a week before COVID happened, right? Nam of
Exactly. Yeah, Nam.
20, yeah, Nam of 2020, I think. Yeah.
2020, yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
happened, and now we're here today.
yeah.
Amazing. No, that sounds amazing, Baines. Also, I was going to ask you kind of got a few questions. So I want to know kind of how did you get started with Pro Tools, and how did your journey start again with Pro Tools? Obviously, you said you went Full Sail, but you studied music business as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I did. I did. So the way Full Sail was set up back then was you do the recording arts and you get an associate's degree, and then if you do the music business, you get a bachelor's degree. And at the time, my parents were like, yo, if you dropping out of business school and doing like, going through the norm and doing all that, you gotta do something that where you at least get a you at least get like a bachelor's degree. So I was like, all right, cool. I did it at the time. It was cool because I was in school for another year, but I didn't. Right when I got out, I was like, man, it's been 1 year since I've learned all this technical shit. I did really good. I was valedictorian, graduated with a 4.0 GPA, but now I've spent a year doing business stuff where I haven't gotten to practice. But it's kind of like then you get into the studio and you have to like start like dealing with patch bays and all this stuff. So it took me a minute to get back into audio mode from music business mode back then. And I was just like, I'd spent a year, I just wasted a year and I've forgotten everything I learned. Mm-hmm. I didn't forget it. I just had to like re-get acclimatized to it and everything. Yeah. But it was cool. I in hindsight now, I'm glad I did the business course because that really helped me with, I don't even know if it actually helped me. Like, I think it's just, unintentionally or whatever, just knowing that stuff, you just are a little more savvy maybe.
So that's what I was going to actually ask about, because a lot of the times, obviously, in an artist relations role, I talk to a lot of engineers, and what I've noticed is that engineers they are a brand essentially, right? You guys are your own business. You're dealing with your own stuff. You're obviously still socially active, more than kind of engineers were back in the day, of course, but more now you're just becoming like your own kind of artist or brand or business, right? So you would say kind of Full Sail definitely did help towards just getting kind of the basics of business, I guess, in the music world, where you could carry that forward now in
that too. But I think what Full Sail really, at least for me personally, what Full Sail did was it like really instilled the fundamentals, just the core principles, the fundamentals. And also another big thing was you had to do the Pro Tools certification when you did like what the course was that I think it's called Advanced Audio Workstations or something like that. But you have to do the Pro Tools certification, and that, like, I think you would probably know better than me. I can't even remember, but I think you're allowed to get like 1 or 2 questions wrong, and they're pretty intense questions. They're not like easy, like with all those books. So I like memorized Pro Tools 101, 110, and 201 completely until I just didn't do the 210p. I didn't do that one. I just did the M1, which is P is for post-production, M is for music. But just in doing that and memorizing these fucking thick ass manuals, I still it's benefiting me till today, because that's the stuff that uninstinctually you like really you really get, like, that shit sticks with you. Like, I see a bunch of questions about 808s and 808s and 808s. And I guess like, that's a big part of it. That is a big part of it. But you really just have to know the fundamentals in order to, because like you could do all this dope stuff to an 808 and then it might collapse something else going, like you might have taken up the whole room for that. So now where does everything else in the mix fit? And I think that's what it is. It's just about knowing the fundamentals and knowing where you can, like, bend the rules a bit to your advantage.
It's like learning a language, I guess, right? It's like a language. I mean, I've seen you when you're kind of doing your stuff on the keyboard and how quick you are with the shortcuts. And just when you have an artist, obviously, like Doug and Gunnar, some huge artists, obviously, they'd work in a very efficient and quick way. But then as an engineer, you got to adapt to that and obviously be ready and make sure. And obviously, learning the language early allows you to do that, right?
Dude, the quick keys are shortcuts, and that's what it is. That's what the certification, just using Pro Tools and all of that stuff teaches you. Like, you have to memorize all this. You have to know all of the weird settings in the preferences. So if you go to, like, if I show up at another machine, like another studio or another system, and something doesn't feel right, I know exactly like which preference to go to, what to check, and that's just from doing it so much. You know what I mean? Just small things like that. And so when I first started, when I was in SAE, I remember using Cubase and, Fruity Loops, like early versions. Again, this is like over like pre 2005 or whatever. So I was using Cubase, and then I went to school for audio. So I had to stop using all other DAWs just to learn Pro Tools, just because, you're using, you end up using quick keys from one and the other, and it just really confuses you. And like you said, it is like a language. I just really wanted to give everything to that. And that's kind of what I did, and it really helped because that's what my thing always was. Even when I was just starting out, like I was learning, but I was fast, and that's why people fuck with me, and that kind of just always helped, you know. And there's a couple of things that I do like that kind of helps me as well. Like I use one of those, like my function keys on my keyboard are separated. Like don't worry about all the glowy stuff and all, but like you see how the function keys are separated. Even though this is a Pro Tools keyboard, I don't really need the quick keys. All I just need are these keys separated. So when I'm working, that's how I quit change mode. I don't do the option Apple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I use the function keys. So if they're separated, I can like just feel around the keyboard without looking at it, and that's kind of how I move around. And everyone's different. Like I'm really weird on the newer keyboard. Some people that works really well for them. This is just what I came up on, so that's kind of why I like the old G4 keyboard. But yeah, that's a big part of it. Just being comfortable. Just you know, everything else. You should be comfortable. Everything should be within reach. And then, you know, you start going, because like I've used this analogy before. It's like driving a sports car. You want to make sure everything's cool so you can make those fast turns and have everything else, like, you know, stay intact.
Yeah, no, of course, man. I love the thing you said about the hotkeys as well, because it's so important. I've seen obviously the video that you did with us as well, and you was on them hotkeys.
Yeah, I do it, man. Yeah.
So I had a question actually, because I know you, because obviously now you're in a very strong team. How important is kind of working in the team, and like, you know, do you still feel like you're very attached to it? Are you part of the kind of process all the way through? You know, as a team, it's very important for you to kind of obviously be a part of the process, let's say, right? Huge.
For sure. There's, and like, because we're like, you know, the label, we have a bunch of engineers. We have a team of engineers. There's a team of producers. There's a team of mixers. There's like a bunch of people all working together. And obviously the artist, the most important people. And like, you know, just working together is really important. Like for me, it's when it comes to the engineers, there's this Flo I work really closely with, Gunna's engineer, Sean as well, AJ in Atlanta, and a bunch of guys out here in LA. Like there's an AJ over here too, Taylor and everyone. And then in when it comes to me personally, like Arash, you met Arash, right? My assistant.
Yep.
He's really dope. And like that's the big thing. Like you have to have complete trust. Like I trust him with files. I trust that if he's gonna do stems for me, he's gonna double check everything and make sure everything's cool. There's like all like the weird like double checking and stuff like that I do. I know if he does it, it's gonna be done right. One, because he's been doing it for so long, and then that's just his personality and nature.
Yep. Wow. And on that note, kind of as I think we have loads of students on the call today as well, probably around the world as well. So before I move on to the next bit about the albums and stuff and the juicy stuff with your session, what advice would you give to someone kind of in university? You know, they're just studying. Obviously, we know Pro Tools. Obviously, learning Pro Tools would be one. Learning the language. What else would you tell them maybe about the music business, or kind of being a brand, or anything that you would kind of encourage a student?
I think just get a good grip of Pro Tools. That is super important. Understand this music, and like I don't know, like if music theory is obviously it's super important and shit, but I don't know if it says that's the first thing. Just have a basic understanding of song structure, you know, like there's verses, choruses, bridge, that kind of stuff. And you know, just same thing with timing, learn how to recognize waveforms. And like we'll get into that when I jump into the session as well. Make sure, you know, all your, like, you know, it's the same thing, man. You know, dotting your I's, crossing your T's. Just making sure like everything is set up good. Sorry, this chat's like really distracting me. I'm going to move it to the side.
Got a lot of questions at the end, Baines.
I know, right? Sorry, just Pro Tools is really important. Pro Tools, and then signal flow as well.
Oh, of course, 100%.
Song structure, signal flow is a big one, I think.
Yeah,
that really helped me as well.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I'm gonna move on a little bit now, Baines. I see the questions coming in as well now. So so obviously let's talk about Go Crazy for a second. Absolute phenomenal song, and even in my notes I wrote it was one of the most influential songs of my going out with the boys kind of days, you know, as it is, man. So massive, still plays in UK. You know, I went out a couple of weeks ago, still playing. Everyone goes crazy, literally.
Shout out to my brother Tizio.
Exactly. I was just going to mention. So Tizio, you've connected me up with Tizio, amazing guy. You guys, you could tell you guys have a bond and a relationship. First of all, I want to start with how do kind of engineers in LA, like how do you guys like have this bond? Because before, obviously, I can't say anything because I don't live in LA, but obviously it would be kind of like you're on your own kind of thing, right? Now I see it more, and everyone is so well connected. And if two artists are collabing, they've got their engineer, their engineers are collabing, and it's such a beautiful thing to see.
For me personally, I'm noticing that it's very recent. So I've always run studios and always been in studios. So I've always been close to engineers, like a lot of engineers. I've always had a lot of engineer friends. Whenever I have a problem, I know I can call someone or troubleshoot or walk through. And it's usually people calling me for a bunch of things too. I've got a pretty good circle of that. But I've noticed recently, I think because social media is a lot more accessible. Like there's people who I've just heard their work and I just know of them, but we can jump on a call and it'll be super cool. Like MSM from London.
Of course, yeah, Michael.
Really nice guy. Yeah, Mike. Yeah. I literally just know him from social media. Like we've texted, DM'd a few times. But when I had to go to London for a day, and he hooked me up with everything. He hooked me up with a gear rental company, hooked me up with a bunch of things, and just as I said, and like that was a great example of how we don't know each other. We've spoken a few times and had great conversations. Same thing, Stuart White. I don't really know him. I mean, I've never really met him, but we were introduced to another friend, and we've spoken and a bunch of times. And it's super cool. I like that, doing podcasts and like little talks like this. Like my buddy Matt Rad does a weekly thing with John Costelli, and he has people like me and Tizio on. So it's like building a community. Producers do it because producers meet up with each other and work on beats together. And I think now engineers having to do records together, or just being in the room, or just having someone to shoot the shit with.
And that's what's amazing, because obviously Go Crazy, you've got Chris Brown, and obviously then Tizio would be Chris Brown's engineer, right? And then you had yourself with Thug and stuff. So it's, for me, obviously outside, it looks so amazing because it's good to see two engineers. As you said, the producers thing here, I always hear about like producer link ups and stuff. It's always happening, but an engineer link up's never really kind of a common thing. But now it's getting common, and it's like cool to see, because it's like your ears are collabing with other ears, man. It's amazing.
And you sharpen each other. That's
exactly
like a big thing, because like he might learn something one day, I might learn something, I might find a new cool plugin or a new cool technique and method. So I think that's a big part of it, just being communicative and being open. That's what, like, people aren't as secretive as they used to be. I think that's a big thing now, because everyone's gonna figure it out anyway. You're better off like just I don't want to say sharing, but just like just helping other people out, I think.
Yep. No, I agree. I have a question actually, Baines. Random one. Do you prefer kind of mixing when someone sends you stems, or would you rather when you're in the kind of session and you're mixing as you're going along, you're mixing, literally mixing going along, or stems are sent over via email or Dropbox or whatever it may be, and then you kind of sit down on your own and then start mixing? What do you prefer as an engineer?
Do you mean as like just working with as opposed to working with the client, or as opposed to them committing everything and sending it, or being a session? There's I've been battling back and forth with this for a while. I think I personally get a better quality product and result when I get the actual session and I get rid of everything that's on there, start from scratch. I might keep a few things, keep the essential vibe, but start from scratch, and then just get rid of any crazy 30-40 dB of compression that people might have on, or these crazy high frequency boosts and stuff. That being said, the notes, or the notes when I do something like that, or the chances of it getting approved are a little less than when someone sends me stems and I just work out their stems. So I think when you get the stems like that, it handicaps you, but in a positive way sometimes. Maybe it might make the process much faster. Because if I was mixing for me, for my personal pleasure, I would do it the first way. But when you are dealing with other people and other artists, I'm beginning to learn that it's probably easier, or it's just better to like take what they have and like so recently I did a record. It's two examples. I did one record where I completely scrapped everything. This is in the past 2 weeks. Completely scrapped everything because the vocals were just way too thin, just super thin and super high up there, and I just didn't like them. So I was like, let me just start over. So I got rid of that, started over, and he loved the record. And then the album came out, and it wasn't my mix, and he was like, "Yo, it was a timing thing." Then I heard the mix that came out, and it was a dope mixer that did it. It was Manny, and I was like, "Oh, he kept all of that, but he made it better and fine tuned it." And then there's another record I did a couple of days ago, actually over the weekend, where so it was like he had the C4 on the pop vocal preset, which is like 7 dBs on top, 5 dB, which I really hate all that stuff. So what I did was I would bring each one down by like 4 dB or 3 dB, but in kind of like, so if I'm bringing the high down 3, I'll bring the mid down 3, bring everything down equally. So it kind of is, it still has that sound, but it's not as crazy. And then I can go and like, use kind of better stuff, or like use the plugins I like or the hardware I like personally. So again, it's different, man. It just depends on what it is. And like and then those records that I did that on, they loved them. They got approved right away. And he was like, I want you to mix. And it was a new client too. It was someone I know, but a really big artist, but I just know him from working with Thug. He just asked me to mix some records. He was like, "Oh, you're doing all my hip hop shit now going forward." I was like, "All right, cool."
Love that.
So, and again, that's something that I've gotten better with it, talking to other people, because I didn't know that's how it is. That's how to do it. Because like I thought if you get a session and someone's doing something crazy, you take that shit off and then redo it. But just talking to other people, and like people like John Costelli, who I look up to a lot too. He said one of his podcasts that like he said the same thing, that there are a lot less revisions when you do something like that, when you work off their stuff. And so I've been doing that off late, and it's been a lot. I can mix a lot faster. I'm spending a lot of time dealing with issues that don't need to be issues. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm doing so much surgery where we don't need to do that much surgery. You can just lift off. You can back off here and back off here. Uh-huh. But again, that's the sound that they're used to. That's the sound they like. So you
would do that.
Yeah. It's wrong.
No, 100%. It's true. Like it's crazy. As you were saying that as well, it's like there's no actual manual that tells you how to mix or how to. Right. I wish there was. That would be easy, man.
Yeah. Right.
But there isn't. But yeah, no. So the next one before we go on to kind of showing your template, because I know people are looking at that as well. So, Punk, man, that was amazing. It was one of my favorite albums in a very long time, especially the song with J. Cole as well. And obviously you recorded with Carbon. But yeah, that album was just so good. I think it was mainly because it was very different as well. It wasn't your typical. It was very different. It was a different, and obviously we didn't expect it, right?
I think it was a passion project that he just always wanted to do.
Yeah.
For like one of the biggest trap artists to come out with an album that's basically guitars, and a lot of records had no drums. There was no big single going to it, no big music video or anything. Still went number one, still did well. People still talk about it. So yeah, it's just a testament to him and his vision.
Yeah, no, and was it? So this is what I was going to ask actually. So was it different for you? Obviously, tracking with Carbon, but was it also different mixing that album? Considering it was like a passion project, or again, did you do that as you were going along?
It was because he was so tied to that project. A lot of the mixes that I mixed where he thought they sounded too far away from the demo. So a lot of them we ended up going. He wanted to go back to the demo. That's why they some of them don't sound as polished as because it's the traction mix. But that's just the vibe he wanted to go for that. But there are other songs that I did spend time on, like so the one you were talking about, Stressed with Cole and T-Shine. Mm-hmm. They actually did that. Like Thug and T-Shine and Cole actually did that record when he was on tour.
Wow.
With J. Cole.
Wow.
I think that's 2019 or 2018, maybe 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And we just had the record and we were trying to use it, but there was there was a keyboard in there and the sample. There was some issue with the production. Mm-hmm. So that record, like we were trying to put it together, and then finally we had a few people working on it. T- was working on it until I think I got final approval from J. Cole that we could use that record at about 7 or 8 in the morning, and the album comes out at 9 p.m. that night on Thursday. Man. And there was so many records like that we're doing it right at the end. Like Travis had cut his verse the night before.
Oh wow.
Bubbly. and try to mix that, do that,
Yeah.
and then this, and then like you know how it is when it's like going into
Yep.
release date, everything goes crazy. But yeah, so with that one, because I got everything at 7 or 8 in the morning, and I had a very little time, and it was C minor, so he had a lot of stuff. He went, it was drums, but there was keyboards, pianos, guitars, a lot of stuff. It was mainly keeping his balance and just making sure there's no resonance, like
Yep.
nothing bothered. So like there's like, and also I've learned this because I've been in this position so many times where like you have to prioritize. If you have 1 hour to mix the record or 2 hours to mix the record, you can't do what you want to do, or everything you have to do.
Oh man.
You got to prioritize, and that's where like I've gotten pretty good at like, okay, we'll do this, get the vocals, make sure the vocals sound good, no clicks and pops. Make sure like you might have to hit the limiter a bit hard, like or limiter or compress on the vocal a bit harder because you didn't have as much time to clip gain or that kind of stuff. But again, there's no, I don't want to say it's right or wrong. It's just that's what it was. We had that much time and we had to make it work.
Yeah. And actually, so I was going to mention actually, so as obviously an artist, you do like vocal warm-ups, or you might have certain warm-ups. As an engineer, do you have a certain kind of warm-up or anything you do as well? Like obviously you'd have assistant, create your session. But if you're tracking, would you have several mics laid out or certain thing that you do to kind of be ready? Because there's a lot, right?
Yeah. So I think with mixing, like I try to, again, it doesn't always happen, but I try to keep the prep part separate from the mixing part, like all the technical stuff, like getting it routed right in my template, making sure everything's clip gain right, making sure everything, like just when I sit down, I want to start mixing and not think about technical shit.
Yep.
If I have to do that, I would do that and then take a bit of a pause so you can like switch between, just the different side, like left brain, right brain kind of thing.
Yep. No, 100%. Okay, cool. Should we dive into the demo for 15 minutes and then we'll answer all these amazing questions?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm gonna first do my tracking situation, okay?
Yep, perfect. So guys, this is the tracking template from Bainz that we're going to go through.
All right, cool. So do you see that?
Yep, all good on my side. All good.
All right, cool. So I'm just going to work as if I was working and talk you through it as I'm going along, okay? First thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to add a beat over here. Let's pick any one of these. This one, 140. This is just a pack I have from my buddy Blanco, dope producer.
Nice.
Don't worry about the sample rate thing. If I like, I would have made the session in 48 if I knew the beats were like, I kind of try to keep the session the same as that. So anyway, the first thing I do, it comes over here. I just drag it up to that track and then get rid of this. And I'll always duplicate this just so I have the original placement, okay? Now, I did already pop this in mixed in key, so I know the key is D minor and it's 140, which is 70. So I work in 70. And, so this is the important thing. You see that little gap over there? I'll always get rid of that. So you go there. There's a few different ways to do it quicker. Whatever, tap to transient, whatever works for you.
And that's then the beauty about shuffle mode, right? That's the beauty of shuffle mode there. Quick and easy.
So then about 8 dB down there, and then I know this is good. And then you see all these markers that just show up in this. That's just for me to know that that's usually, the markers were already there. I don't know if you noticed or not. So a lot of times he would want to come in right there. You know what I mean? He'd be like dropping in right there. That's why I have that marker there, so I can hit period 8 period, and wherever I am in the session, I could just jump right there real quick. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And those are already there. Then as the session goes along, I'll go in and tweak it and stuff. I used to just use mixed in key. I've been using auto key a lot more now. I'll tell you why. Because I've been using the Carbon, and I've had to use Auto-Tune Hybrid as well as Auto-Tune Pro. This saves me a step, and instead of setting 2 keys, I just set it one time. But that being said, I've been through this before. There's a group I have over here that says AT Vocal 1.
Yep.
If we go to, do you see the screen I just opened up?
Yep. I can see it. Yep. Modify group.
Okay, perfect. So if you go to attributes over here, you'll see the first 2 banks of inserts are linked. So that means is if I go here and I make that 0 over there, I go to any other auto tune and it'll follow along.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you can send it to Auto-Tune directly then, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And then key as well, which is D minor. Okay. Yeah. So we got the key, and we've got the tempo. I usually would probably start over there. This is a good starting place, at least for me. My back off might come forward. And then yeah, let's go through this. So another thing is, let me swap what I'm sharing real quick.
So Baines, actually, can I ask you a quick question just on that?
Yeah.
Someone just popped in a question called Dennis, and it's actually a really good question. So when you're tracking and you kind of put in a beat, let's say, or an instrumental,
Yeah.
do you do anything specific to that? Obviously, it would be dependent on the beat and kind of where it's come
Yeah.
from.
So I've got this over here. That's there. That's just a roll off. Sometimes there's a little too much low end. But
Right.
what I like to do is I usually, I don't know it's not on this template, but I usually have something like this.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that would just be like any kind of like wherever it is, the top end, and I would usually do it, make it dynamic, just so that the hi-hats and the snares and that kind of stuff doesn't clash with the beat. And then I
Right.
could take it off later if I
Wow.
want to and stuff like that.
That's smart.
And yeah, so then say we recorded this section over here, okay? I've been over this before, but like I do a lot of like, again, this is like more of a mixed thing, but like I use clip effects a lot. So you see these windows up top. These are my presets. I'm just running through them really quick. One, I'm hitting 1 on the keyboard, 2 on the keyboard, 3, 4, 5. So if it's something that's SE, I would just hit this and go on. That's usually a good little thing. If it's something that's harsh in the middle, this one usually helps. A 3 or 5K, just something around there. And then those are starting points. I can just rush through real quick. I use that clip effect section a lot. But yeah, I record on one track up here. We got done recording, and then we drag it down. And that's just so you can like move quicker. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. Now then, everything from that track goes to this, the vocal track, which again, basic EQ stuff, basic de-essing over here too. What you want to I keep playing around with the plugins that live here, as long as they're all low latency, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Because again, this is going to get changed when you're mixing it. I have an SSL over there that I don't really use, but most studios have it, so in case they don't have what I'm using. I put the neutron on there. This exciter is amazing, but I keep it off until I'm done recording because it adds some latency. But this exciter is really cool. That's how I usually keep it, like break it up on that. And yeah. So that's that. And then I have a Phoenix on here. Not doing anything right now, but it's usually like somewhere around there. Mag, another EQ, a compressor, and then an RVox right at the end. And yeah, but the main thing here is low latency, man. I've like said this so many times. Keep it low latency, keep it working smooth, and make sure it works everywhere. That's why I've got different versions. Like I might not have the neutron and the Phoenix, but like most places have waves, most places have fab filter. Plugin Alliance is getting pretty common now too, so you should be good. And yeah, that's that one. Let me open the other session. Do you have any questions on this?
Amazing. I mean, I love the template.
Yeah, it's again like there's a lot of hidden stuff over here. If I need more tracks, I just do that. I get a whole new bank over there. The idea is you want to have everything that you would need without having to like duplicate and make new stuff, but also you want to be able to navigate it really quick and easy.
Okay.
So that's why I keep them inactive, hidden. I don't want to tax the system if I don't need to. If I'm just recording one artist, I don't need like 4 different vocal tracks and all that. Yeah.
Perfect. And obviously, I love the way that you've done kind of your record track, and then you just drop it down and drop it down and drop it down.
Oh yeah,
that just helps you work efficiently, right? And quicker.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then suppose there's this that I want to keep, and I want to like if we've done this, okay, and he's like, and say there's like audio here, obviously you can't really see anything here, but anyway, and he's like, mute that, let's do it again. So what I would do is it's got all these weird things because I don't record it here. But anyway, I would just hit record real quick and then grab this and like hit this up there instead of clicking it and muting it. That way I
Right.
have a track open up top on mute on playlist mode. And the reason I have that is like suppose I have another thing here. Now that I've done that, if he's like one more time, I just record real quick and then I can store this up there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Oh,
it's
wow.
just a workflow thing. It works for me. It might not work for other people. You might have to turn off one of these, either edit. I can't remember. I think it's that one. In order so that when you drag up, it doesn't deselect from where you are. Yeah, that's it. In actual application and practice, this works out a lot better. It's just so it's there for me to like jump around quick.
Mhm.
And
And
to see everything visually.
right. And then Baines, just on that bit there, I've got someone's question in. So how much do you actually produce, let's say finishing product, but how much of the vocal do you actually produce as you're going along? Because I know you have your chain set up. Do you kind of just leave it here? Then obviously when the artist is done, then you mix it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the best way?
I'll
Okay,
leave
cool.
it here. I like while he's recording, I might make minor tweaks, most of them on playback, but like I've noticed that like I used to do that a lot more than I do it now.
Mhm.
And it's because like if I'm going and turning knobs and stuff while he's recording and he's looking at the screen because he's looking at the waveform, he's looking at the drops and everything, or where the beat drops. If I have a plugin window, it's distracting, for
Right.
the artist.
Yeah.
And this is what something that it took me a while to get this right, but I can't reiterate enough. When they're working, it's their time to be creative when they're recording.
Mhm.
You just have to record everything they're doing, capture what they're doing, and make sure that if they need something or if they have an idea, you can like, throw a quick effect there, do something there. And also, it shouldn't be like the vocals are 10 times louder than within reason. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that there's basic leveling. It's not over compressing or whatever, but still you're not like making like minute EQ changes while he's recording. You know what I mean? I could do that later. And then that's why I like do the other stuff. I'll do all this right while we're recording, and then when it's cleanup time and all, that's when all that happens.
Yeah.
I'm still fading. I'm still making sure things are organized and everything. I'm just not. I might not be like doing like half dB EQ moves while we're recording.
Okay. Cool.
Let's jump to the other session.
Yeah, definitely, man.
How's the Tesla doing?
Nice. How is yours?
It's good to have it back.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. Now I want
ready.
Yeah, it's good. Now I want the plaid.
Oh man. Nice.
Yeah. There's a 1 year wait over here.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's a lot of things with chips in, I'm guessing, right? Similar over there. Exactly.
Yep.
There's
all right,
tons of questions as well, Baines. Okay, we'll go into the next session, then we'll do the questions after.
Yeah. I'm gonna breeze through this. Stop me if you have anything. Pretty straightforward. This isn't a crazy session. It was a quick little mix I did. So everything from here goes to the all drums. I just have a navy on there and a black box parallel drum. Sometimes I'll separate the high stuff and all and send it to this bus.
Sorry, Baines, actually, we can't see your screen. Sorry.
Oh shit. Sorry.
There you go. Yep, all good. All good. So this is your mixing template now, right? This is like a mixing template.
Yeah, this is, yeah. And this, because this is a song I've already done, you can see the cleans already in the same session.
Yep.
But yeah, so pretty straightforward. Drums up top. Then 808. Let's see what we have with the 808. Nothing crazy. Got a surfer EQ here. Parallel voice of God. Parallel, but it's not being used actually. This TS overdrive that is being used on the 808. And then all the 808s come to this bus over here. Got a Ruby on there, boosting it a bit. Spectre doing some stuff. I've got Blue Cat running.
Oh wow.
Good old Ozone 5. Jason Joshua right there. There's a little bit of C2 in there and a dynamic EQ. And yep. And because this is like a lot of tracks these days, the melody is just, in music is just one track, and it looks like I've committed things. So I probably, let's see what I committed. Oh yeah, I committed some outboard. So yeah, it's just anything that's there. Like I probably ran it through some outboard EQ or compressor or something. I can't remember what it was. And then yeah, vocals again. This is the hook. There's some weird EQ stuff going on over there. Soothe. Love this guy, Spectral Shaper. This guy is really cool too, leveling things out. And yeah, you see there's a Ruby on there, Dopamine from Gem, really cool for top end.
Nice.
Yep. Anything different between the two vocals? Yeah, there's this one has a Gulf Foss on it, but the other one doesn't have, I think. But anyway, they all this is where everything ends up in the session. This section down here, where it says routing VCAs, and then the VCAs for it. Drums, bass come there, instruments, vocals come there. I have some. I love this guy. He usually lives on this bus. This is from a DSP. You have to use their hardware for it. And yeah, then all of this goes out these individual channels. In this case, I only needed 4. Sometimes I'll have more. It just depends. Coming out, hitting the Neve summing mixer. It's going through one Fusion and the master bus processor. And then this is my in the box mix bus, MoX SSLG. I swapped out this G. This is the older one, but now instead of this guy, I've been using. I got a NG bus comp. Okay, this is disconnected. But this is actually a hardware compressor that's controlled with the plugin. So I keep this on there, and it's just all the settings. As you turn this, it moves on the hardware unit in real time, which is dope. Then you just leave this, and every session you open up, you don't have to do any recalls. I had a couple of one-shot effects over here, vocal effects, nothing crazy. Like on this word over here, there's and it says what it is because this is from my template. It says wet, wide, single verb repeat. So it's basically like, and then just individual words that get like a throw on them and stuff like that. And here, everything goes down to the sensor here that I can, and all these things get collapsed. I know the session looks a little like chaotic, but like you see this, all of these things could collapse, so it like kind of looks a little more organized. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, do you have any questions on this?
Yeah, so there's a cool question that came in from Demetra. So thank you for the question. So do you drag the tracks to the mix template, or is there a certain way you route from the recording template to the mix template?
Yeah, so basically what I would do is there's a couple of different options. The first one is I can literally just hit Shift Apple N over here. When I say this is the recording template, okay? And then if you go here and you go to track presets, and if you go to mix by Bainz, and then you click there, I think that's where it is. And then, oh yeah, mix bus. You see all these options?
Yep.
So this is my whole mix template in here. So I could just hit Shift Apple N and it'll import the whole template in. That's one way of doing it. The other way is, the straight old import session data.
Oh yeah,
that's and then I have a bunch of them that keep getting updated over time, and it just depends on how it is. But yeah, I usually keep the session in whatever it is, and then import my template and then make sure the routing is cool.
Okay. That's
great, you want to go
Bainz.
through some more questions?
Yeah. So there's loads of questions that come in. Should we start answering them?
Yeah, let's do it.
You good at that, Bainz? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll go for the first one. So going back to a little bit about university and kind of everything. So what was the most helpful course or degree that you've ever done in music business, such as music business, which gave you the biggest push in the industry, or maybe one of the biggest influential degrees or courses you've done actually?
Full Sail recording art.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, Full Sail recording arts for sure.
Amazing. So So what differences do you find on the end result of mixing in the box versus sending stems to analog out and back into Pro Tools? By Alexandre.
I think when you're so I think me personally, when you're mixing in the box, it's just a headroom thing. That's what I've been doing hybrid for a decent amount of time, and every now and then I have to do something in the box, and I'm just like, the way it reacts with the mix bus, that's a little different. Like I'm always like going back and like dialing things back and making sure they're all like just the gain staging is right. That's what it is. The gain staging is just different, and hardware is a little more. And I'm not just saying all hardware, but in my particular situation, having this hardware, the summing mixer, and then a limiter and the burl, a bomber that handles clipping a little different from other converters. All of those things kind of like, I'm always reducing in gain staging, watching lowering things so that they don't choke the mix bus in the box mix. But when I'm using hardware, you could do the same thing. It's just quicker to get there with hardware.
Right. Okay.
It saves time.
Awesome. And then got a question from someone called Greg. What do you think of Carbon?
Oh, I love the Carbon. It's been dope. It was great on the album. I just moved it to my home studio, and I've been using it there a lot. The quality of converters are great. We recorded a lot of the vocals just going straight through the Carbon preamp, and we really liked it.
Yep. And also, you were saying on Gunner's album as well, you guys recorded some stuff, right?
Oh yeah, Flo actually told me that. The day Gunner recorded "Love You More," which is the record that we did on SNL, or More Than Anything, which the one with Nate and Gunner and all. The day he did that, I think right after that, Flo was telling me he recorded Empire, which is the outro to Gunner's album, which is also an acoustic. It's a similar vibe.
Oh wow!
So he did that over there. I just found out recently who that.
Oh, nice.
Doing the same. We were calling them the White Sessions. But yeah, that's that. I see this other question that popped up over here, which is pretty cool. It says, "Do you mix into your mix bus?" So what I'll do is I'll start the mix off, and I guess the first half hour maybe, the mix bus will be off while I'm doing stuff, like making small tweaks, leveling, and then once I'm happy with the way it sounds, then I'll gradually start adding things.
Right.
And there's two different approaches. There's a bottom up approach and a top down approach. A bottom up is how most mixes go. But then if there's a top down approach where you're mixing something where you have all the stems and everyone's done, like there's a lot of work already gone into it, and you're just finessing it, then you do a top down approach. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. That does make sense. Yeah. No, for
where
sure.
You work from the bottom up, or you work from the mix bus back.
Right.
Once the mix bus is on, I'm constantly going and making changes and making sure it's cool. Maybe one of the things don't work, but my mix bus is pretty consistent. I might have like 3 or 4 things that I put every now and then, not always, but for the most part, it's pretty consistent. It's just some plugins come on and off depending on the song.
So actually, Baines, on that note, I kind of have a question there as well. How do you know when a mix is done? It's a very hard question, but I know I've been in sessions when it never finishes.
It just depends on what the deadline is.
See, that's smart.
If there's no deadline, that shit's gonna carry on forever. Like
there's no priorities then, right?
Yeah, I had to do a mix this last weekend where it had to go for vinyl cutting, so they needed 2 records done in about 3 hours.
Wow.
3 or 4, not even. So I was like, I wish, like, even now I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. I'm like, yo, just make sure the mastering engineer has got your ass in that situation. But yeah, it just depends, man.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Let's move on to Tom's question. So, do you still use your vocal chain with the 1073 and the C800G, or has anything changed since? Ski. And you recommended to use this 1073 with a U87.
No,
because this is the only available mic for me.
Oh, on Ski.
And you can recommend, I think. Yeah. Can you recommend?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't personally use the 87 unless it's a vintage 87. Again, with the vintage 87s, the problems are there's not as much. So they sound good, but they're not as what's the word I'm looking for? Damn, I'm blanking over here. They're just not as consistent. You know what I mean? Like every mic A will differ from mic B and mic C, and that's why I like using the C800 and the 1073 with either a CL1B or TLA 100 or something like that for recording, because I know they're always going to sound the same, or at least they're still going to sound closer to. There's not going to be as big of differences. You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay. Cool. I'll move on to the next one. So what is your opinion on? Oh, should we move on or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So what is your opinion on internal HDX card versus carbon? Because obviously you've had both before, and obviously you use them in different kind of environments. And
so and now correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't figured out a way to offload the mixer engine onto the carbon DSP chip. That's just for HDX for hybrid engine stuff, right?
Right. I think I may need one of our specialists to kind of chime in here.
Okay.
Gil.
Yeah. So that's my understanding. So I personally, I think they're different. If you're in a recording environment and you want to use low latency stuff, the carbon is great for that. Mm-hmm. When you're mixing and you want to offload resources onto the cards, that's when I would prefer the chips.
Yep.
So they're both great in their own respective ways, and I would use them for different things.
Yeah, like I love carbon because I could just take it into any studio, as you said as well. You moved it from obviously one place you're recording back to home, back to the studio, easy. Exactly. Everything's inside and it does the job, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
So another question is, as a producer, I've always had preference in engineering, especially in the free band's YSL sound. My favorite has been Seth Firkins, absolute legend.
R.I.P. Seth.
R.I.P. Exactly. Glenn S for mastering, and currently Colin is killing it. I feel the balance of music has changed a bit from the platforms accepting 48K and 24-bit for HD music playback. Is there any adjustments you had to do, and any favorite mixer or mastering engineer that you have taken tips from?
Joe Laporta.
Oh wow. Okay.
Joe Laporta at Sterling Sound. He's had a big influence in like how I deliver things, what I do, and he's just always had my back. And he's just someone that I've worked with a lot, and there's always feedback and back and forth. And Tucci is great too. Mike Tucci, he mastered Go Crazy.
Yeah.
He's been really good. But Laporta will be like, he'll get on the call and he'll be like even after the record comes out, he'll call me and he'll be like, so you see that one? See how we delivered it at that and how it translated to DSP.
Wow.
That's a big part of our conversation, how what we do translates to DSP. So we'll go listen to the final master and then go listen to it across all platforms. And obviously, Tidal's always the best, and then followed by Apple Music. Spotify always sucks. It just sounds like shit. Yep. And it's crazy because you could hear the same song and it's like, like you wouldn't think that the differences would be that big, but it's just, that's just how it is. There's another one. I saw someone from RSPE said, do you have any input when you send out the master? If you're working with the mastering engineer, like me and Laporta, yeah, for sure. We go back and forth. He'll call me and he'll be like, yo, why don't you try one with a vocal up? Or why don't you try one with the 808 down or an 808 up? It just depends. And like on Mop, when he mastered Mop, I actually went back and I turned the 808 up because I wanted it to be comparable to Ski. But then overall, he did his thing to make sure it worked. I think it's really important having a good relationship with mastering engineers. The times when I don't have input or any input on mastering is when it's not our album, when I'm maybe mixing one or two songs. And usually I would have gotten one song because Thug is on there. So they'll make me mix that whole record. Yep. Or, someone like that. And then they might have liked that and they might have asked me to do one or two more. So in those situations, and that's happened pretty often. I don't have as much say with mastering, and I actually didn't like some of the masters in the past because of that.
Okay, all right, man. So we have a current Full Sail student as well, Baines. When working with an artist, his name's De Niro. So De Niro asks, when working with an artist such as Thug, are the songs being put together from what's recorded, or is there already like a song structure when recording?
Oh, there's no structure now. There's no demos. There's nothing. There's a beat. Now what Thug does is Thug will chop up that instrumental like crazy. He'll take a bar from here, a bar from here, about 2 bars from here, something from here. So when I have to when Arish my assistant has to line up stems for anything that Thug has done. It takes the longest because he'll take the 2-track and go crazy with it. Just take 2 bars here, 4 bars here, just rearrange and restructure the whole thing to help him record, or just to his liking. Yep. And then when you get this production stems from the producer, they're all the same way the 2-track came. So you have to go and match all of those months later and stuff like that.
Oh,
it's crazy. But yeah, no, and he might do a hook first or do a verse first, might take bits and pieces. Every song is different. And we usually start with like a blank Pro Tools session, and that's what turns into the song.
Yeah.
I know a lot of other people, a lot of friends of mine who that work with artists that work with writers and stuff. So with them, it's like, they'll get an instrumental and an acapella, and then they'll have to go and match that and cut every line and keep muting as they go along. Mm-hmm. We don't really do that.
Right. Okay. And then another question that came in was, have you actually mixed in Atmos? Because I know we've spoken before, but
yeah. Funk is now funk. All of funk is out in Atmos now. Yeah.
Wow. And how was that process for you?
It was cool. It was just like what takes time is the stems, and shout out to my homie. So TikTok came out before funk. Yep. That was the first one. So that one, the label hit me up and they were like, "Yo, you need to learn how to mix in Atmos." And they were just like, "Go." They sent me to Dolby. Wow. Down the road. It was dope. I met them. They showed me they have this crazy prototype Model X Tesla with Atmos in it.
Oh wow! I've heard about that. Yeah.
And it just sounds like that is like, in my opinion, that's where Atmos is gonna shine in the cars.
Yeah.
I can't get someone when I'm playing a mix to someone. I can't then get them to sit over here at this sweet spot for 2 minutes to listen to a song. And in Atmos, it's way worse. Like you get out of that sweet spot and it's done. You have to sit right there to get that impact. But anyway, so I did that record, and then I've done a few more since then. And then with funk, I mixed it with my buddy Mike Miller. He's the Atmos king now in LA. Tizio's been using him a bunch too. And we just sit there, like, get everything together and go in and, just mix the record.
Oh, amazing, man. Well, it's good to know that you're doing Atmos stuff there. I'm going to check out the punk album in Atmos as well. That's a new one for me, man. So I'm definitely do that.
Yeah, that one. So, I did Mop in Atmos too for Gunner, but I don't know if they've put that out yet.
Okay, cool. Definitely will check that out. So we've got a few more coming in. I'll definitely do a few more. So Simon says, how deep do you go with cleaning and editing up the audio material and returning vocals? That's the biggest part of huge. Yeah, hours, sometimes hours. Wow.
And like Isotope RX is a big part of it. Wow. Declicking, depopping. There might be a weird chair noise or a door slam or someone talking in the background. It's just a bunch of RX.
Yeah, and there's obviously there's no certain times you're at the studio, right? You're there pretty much every day apart from sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes even sleep, right?
Yeah. We've just labels just dropped 2 albums, so it's a little it's not as I'd be lying if I said it's like this 24/7 throughout the year. It used to be like that. Past few weeks have been a little less hectic. I've been mixing, setting my own schedule, just living a normal life, which is great.
Nice. So actually, this is a great question by Wayne. So how do you approach your mix? So with the drums and bass, or vocals and piano, or guitar and melody? Because like a producer, like how do you start your production? Drums or bass or synths? What is it for an engineer?
The shit that takes a lot of time is the vocal cleanup, and I try to do that first if that's not been done in the prep, and then I'll move from there, because that you want the system to still run good and fast. And once you're deep in them, if you've done all the instruments and then you go to the vocals to do small things, it just won't be as snappy, the computer, because there's plugins slowing it down. Like you might have to wait not a second, but because of delay compensation, all that stuff. So I'll try to make sure all my vocal editing and cleanup is done. Then I'll go 808 usually, then kick, then the rest of the drums and music. Okay. And then I've gotten most of the vocal cleanup done, and then it's just fitting the vocals back in, and then that kind of stuff. And then it's always, again, I'm just saying, like, that's the first thing I thought of right now that I did in the last record. Every record is different. It just depends. But and then also there's a lot of going back and adjusting things with each other and stuff like that.
Okay, so we have it 7:01. So I'm going to ask just two more. I'm going to be quick as I can, guys. So, one of them, great question, I think, is it's so important as an engineer who's obviously based outside of or inside YSL kind of headquarters, let's say. When you do go to other sessions, you go to other kind of studios. What do you take as an engineer? Like, obviously, would you have your like your headphones? Would you have? But let's talk.
The weirdest thing is I take my fucking keyboard.
Wow. Yes, I like that.
That's the most important thing for me. And people like see me showing up with a keyboard. I'm like, yeah, that's just me. That's I need my keyboard because I'm like paralyzed on these other keyboards. I take keyboard, headphones usually, but they'll probably have headphones. Everything else they probably have. You gotta have your drives, flash drive, stuff like that. Some computers don't have AirDrop, the older ones, so you have to like just deal with that.
Yep.
But it's my keyboard, man. If I have to pick one desert island thing that I take with, is the keyboard.
Is the keyboard.
And then also, yeah, I do take this handheld Latin microphone.
Okay.
It's actually not meant to be a handheld microphone. It's just a off-axis rejecting microphone. I think it's called LS208. But Thug sometimes he likes to lie in the back of the room and just hold the mic in his hand and just,
nice.
That's the vibe for him too. So I just
amazing.
have that mic on hand. So if he ever needs to do that, we used to use the SM7B, but this is just a slightly better version of that because it's a condenser mic, so just a little bit of a higher quality recording, and it's super cheap too. Yeah, and shout out to those guys a lot, man. They make some great mics.
Yeah, I was going to say, so actually, sorry, I'm just adding a bit on there as well. I remember when I met you and you were saying kind of there's no like structure to even record. Sometimes Doug would like to record even in the same room as you're mixing, as you're tracking, be next to you. And I love that because it's like you want to be in your environment and kind of let that energy out. And it's so important, right?
This record that is on Kanye's album, the remote control record, dude. Yes. We did that in the middle of rehearsals. We were in Orlando rehearsing for the live show, and he literally stopped, like took the jet from Atlanta to Florida just to rehearse for about 2 hours, and then jumped on the jet and went to Miami where Rolling Loud and All was. And in that time, someone was like, yo, he needs to record. Can you make it happen? And I was like, I don't have a microphone. Because I didn't have that travel. That's why I carry that with me now.
Right.
I didn't have that at the time. And we were just at rehearsals. I just happened to have my laptop and my interface on me and my in-ears that I was using. Luckily, my boy Demetrius, who's our front of house guy, dope front of house, he used to work with, he still does. He's Drake's front of house as well. D came to me and he was like, yo, I have this shitty, it's not even a Beta 58, but it's like a Beta 58. He was like, will it work? And he was like, oh, I can get another condenser and set it up. And I was like, dude, like, get me the Beta 58 because we're recording in like an office. There's like noise outside and stuff. Got it set up real quick with my iLouds and everything.
Wow.
And there's a video of that too will come out one day. But it's dope. And that album is Grammy nominated now.
I love that, man. Again, there's no structure. There's no manual on how to do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah,
exactly, the amount of albums that have been recorded in rooms or hotel rooms. Yeah. And, I love it.
Hotel rooms, like, dude, slow recorded Gunna at the hospital.
Wow. Wow, man. There's a lot of reverb there as well. Right. Yeah. Amazing, Baines. So I think the last question that I think there's a lot of students on today. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier as well, but kind of what's your one piece of advice as Baines? Huge hip hop engineer, mixer, tracker. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone leaving college, university, or kind of just getting into the world of just mixing and engineering?
Man, just be humble, stay down, put in the hours, and just keep getting better at your craft. And I just saw this question. I wanted to answer it.
Yeah, of course.
Do you subtract first when mixing vocals, then boost, or boost then subtract? I subtract then boost. And that could be a parting tip for subtracted boost.
I like that. Amazing. Well, Baines, from the whole Avid crew across the world and all the audience that we've had today, thank you so much. As always, man, you've been amazing. Shared a lot of tips and techniques, and I can't wait to hear more amazing music from you guys. And
thanks, hopefully,
man. Thank you. See you soon.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say thanks to everyone who jumped in. And if I saw a whole bunch of questions pop up, and I'm sure I didn't get to them. If you guys want to ask me anything, hit me up on Instagram. Send an email, whatever. Reach out. I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, cool.
Love talking to people, man. Yeah,
you want
it's
to put your
it's
Baines?
just Bainz, Bainzz. Should I just type it in over here in the Q&A?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I don't know if I can do that here. I'm just typing here. All right, I got it. All right, man.
There you go, guys. All right, Baines.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, dude. We'll definitely see you soon. And thank you, everyone around the world and all the Avid staff. It's been amazing. And we'll catch up soon. Thank you, Baines.
All right.
Take it, dude.
Peace out, man.
See you, man.
Slap.